That's what they do. All right. Wow. It's a good day. You got contacts in today?
No, I'm blind. I just don't like that. I just don't like the glare on my glasses when I'm going live these days.
I understand. I understand. I can't see with them. All right, all right, all right. We're live tonight. We're live here on Facebook Live, right? Facebook Live with James Green, Linda James Green, Nexa Mortgage. So we're waiting for people to come on live with us, but we're looking for a great time today. Great information, solid information. We're trying to help veterans become homeowners. Veterans become homeowners. So, all right. We'll see if people come in. We'll get this thing started. If not, we'll move forward. All right, we got some people coming. We got some people coming in. So welcome to Mission Homeownership. Welcome to Mission Homeownership. We got some good information tonight. We got a trusted lender who's going to answer some great questions. So put your questions in the comment. Put your questions in the comments. We'll answer your questions as they come in. We have a great set of questions we polled, but then we have more questions that you may have. We'll answer those questions as well. So we're looking forward to a great session tonight. So, all right. All right. So I guess we'll just get started, James. This is streaming and it's live anyway, and it's recorded. So we'll go ahead and get started with the questions anyway. So, all right. So some of the questions that I have, I poll these questions because I think they're very important questions that veterans need to know before we get started. Before they start the home buying process. So again, people, I'm Rick DeShields with Legacy South Real Estate Group. I'm with James Green of Nexa Mortgage. My goal is to help veterans become homeowners and create wealth through home ownership. And so I was a veteran for 6 years, served in the United States Army, and I bought my very first home using my VA loan, and I bought a few homes using a VA loan. So I know it works, and it's a great tool. It's a powerful financial tool to use. And so I want to make sure that my fellow veterans have that same opportunity as a realtor to help them become homeowners. And so what I want to do is give James the opportunity to introduce himself and share whatever he wants to share about himself, and then we'll go into answering some questions. Okay, James?
Yes, Rick, I got a little buzz going on in the background. Do you hear that real quick? Just want to see if we can.
I don't I don't hear
Okay.
it.
Okay. All right. Really quick. Yes, my name is James Green. I'm with Nexa Mortgage. I am a preferred lender with the Shields, and we're gonna not only answer questions Q&A, but we're also going to give you stories of some successes that we've had with veterans and using their loans uniquely. It's not, a one size fit all when it comes to the veteran using their loans. So we want to kind of cover all of the base knowledge of what's happening, the things that I mentioned when it comes to using your VA loan.
James, there is a little hum. So I don't know where it's coming from, but now it's a little hum. And I don't know where that is coming from or how we need to work through that. Let's see. I don't know if it's on your end or my end. How am I coming through on your side?
You're coming through, but all right. See if you mute. See what happens.
Okay. You just cleared your
So yeah, it's coming from your side because when you muted it, stopped humming.
okay, so I guess I tell you what, then I guess when I talk when I finish talking, then I'll just kind of mute and I'll let you share what you have to share. Okay. And so the first question that we have, like I said tonight, is for veterans or active duty service members who's never used their VA benefit before, where does this process actually start? And if you don't mind, James, I like to interject first that I feel that it starts actually with the realtor, a conversation with the realtor. I think you first start that conversation with the realtor, with the veteran, understanding, their actual situation, understanding where they are credit are from income, their goals, understanding their timeline, and at that point, we kind of work up something to create a plan for them to become a homeowner. And that plan includes connecting them with a trusted lender such as James Green. And from that point, then James kind of step in. We don't hand them off to James. We just kind of connect them with James because we're still working through that process together throughout the whole home buying journey. So James.
Yeah, so for me, absolutely. You start off with, the face of the transaction, which is your realtor. And then you contact yourself. With myself, a couple of things that, we'll discuss is your income, your eligibility. We'll break a lot of that stuff down, but we'll do an overall deep dive of your documents. Once we get your documents in hand, then we'll kind of look at the profile to oversee everything that's going on. So is basically, I tell people that it's a la carte. When you're dealing with a lender, it's not a one size fit all because everybody profile is not the same.
Got you. And that's great information. And a lot of times they still think that the process starts with buying a home, shopping for a home. They feel like going shopping is the first part of the process, and it actually starts way before then with the conversation, just a conversation, right? So thank you, James, for that information. Thank you for that information. So the next question, James, is what is a certificate of eligibility and how does a veteran obtain one?
So a certificate, a COE is what we call an abbreviation. It is basically it's the benefit that the lender pulls from the Veteran Association on the behalf of the veteran to determine the eligibility of the house buying power, which is called in their entitlement. And is as simple as that. We check your DD 214, we register with the VA, pull your COE, make sure you're eligible, and we move from there. It's just a certified form to let you know that you are able to buy a house with your benefits.
That's awesome. And listen, that's something that they don't have to figure out on their own because the lender they can, yes, they can pull it themselves through the VA portal, but you have a trusted lender, let them pull it because they're familiar with that process and they can pull it very easily. So thank you for that answer, James, as well. I don't have any questions. Listen, if you have any questions, please put them in the portal or in the comments and we'll get those questions answered while we have James on the line with us. Um, okay, the next question, James, is what credit score uh, does most lenders look for on a VA loan? And what happens if a veteran score isn't quite there yet? And this is a great question, actually.
So typically your credit score matters. Typically, we're looking at anywhere from a 600 and above. But even bigger than your credit score is collections, bankruptcies, charge-offs. VA is one of the most strict when it comes to the history of ability to repay. So credit score we do look at, but negative remarks on your credit have way more value in an adverse way on VA than any other loan. Now, the how the VA offsets that is the VA does not have a DTI limit. So that means if you have good credit, you don't have, collections, you don't have any charge-offs or bankruptcies, the VA will allow you to actually go surpass. I've closed people with a debt to income ratio of 60 and 70% back in on VA compared to your FHAs 56 and your conventionals that are 49s. So VA has a little bit more leniency with veterans as far as debt to income ratio, but The reason being is because they have a little bit more stringent process on the negative remarks of your credit report.
Wow, and that's great information, and that was actually a clarity moment. So, for veterans that may have missed that, please go back and rewatch that. And I think a lot of veterans count themselves out because of credit. Most of them don't even want to check it, and sometimes it's almost like a wall. They feel like the wall of credit is something they can't get over. They can't get over that hurdle. But if you never try, if you never take the opportunity to try, you'll never know. And so, even for those that may have a credit issue or may have something that they're kind of holding them back on right now, we have access to a loan readiness coach. And that person can help walk you through the process to get you to that point. And for the most part, it may take 3 months, it may take 6 months, 9 months, maybe even 12 months. But he's that coach that's going to walk you through the process and help you to qualify at some point. I like to look at the loan readiness coach like a basketball coach that you're not ready to go in the game yet, but he sees your potential. And in seeing your potential, he'll coach you and get you to that point, and then you're finally ready to get into the game. So again, if you're not ready yet, but you know that at some point you're serious about the home buying process, then we can connect you to that loan readiness coach and get ready. All right. That's great information. So like I said, if you missed it, go back and watch the replay on that one. So that was good. Thank you, James. Here's a very good one right here. I like this one. This kind of touched in my personal life when I bought my first home in '95, and we hear zero down all the time. Is it that really true that you can buy a home at zero down, or are there hidden costs that veterans should know about?
All right, so I'm gonna answer this one with a story.
Okay.
Right. I'm gonna give you I closed the deal with a veteran last week. Okay. It was a quadruplex, right? So this is going to answer a lot of questions with this story. Okay. So this veteran was able to qualify for a quadruplex, right? So that's 4 units. And the only qualifying income that I used for him was actually his VA benefits, right? So I leveraged the other units to help him use future income, okay? So follow me. If your VA benefits and you're at 90, 70, 60, whatever percentage is, you have to leverage to get more qualification through future income through rent. So you would actually, instead of getting a single family home, you would get more doors and use those doors to actually qualify you for more of the home, right? So by himself, I'm gonna bring this all the way home for you guys. So by himself, he only qualified for 275. But by using the VA benefit, we were able to get him in a quadruplex for 700,000, right? And this was a VA loan that I closed in 15 days. Okay, so VA don't really go that fast, but this is the part where I'm circling back to answer the question. We structured the deal. VA allows you to get up to 4% on your seller concessions. So that means we were able to get $28,000 for this veteran. Okay. Again, I'm gonna circle back to the original question, but I got to take you to story time. So we were able to get $28,000 for the veteran. VA allows for you to have no mortgage insurance, which that means the VA is going to ensure that it's going to get paid, right? So he was able to not only come in with zero down payment on a $700,000 quadruplex. That means he's walking into making money right away. Okay, so he was able to put zero down, and he was able to qualify just off no taxes were given, no other income from him was given, only his VA benefits. And this is the blessing of this story. After we worked this deal, he came in with zero down, He got 28 from the seller. It was so much money left in the deal, right? Way we structure it at my company is there was so much money left in the deal, he was able to walk away from the closing table with $8,000 in his pocket. We couldn't even use all the money that the seller was able to give us because how we structure VA deals. So when you say you're talking to a preferred VA lender, you got to make sure you're talking to somebody who understands how to structure your deals. So to answer your question, yes, he got into something that's actually making him money for zero down, and he actually got paid to buy the house.
Now,
So
listen, that's another moment that we need to kind of go back and watch. That's a clarity moment. That's a lot of information. That's a big one right there, because now he's making money. He's making money, right? And so you hear a lot of veterans hear about the zero down, but don't understand the power of the zero down. And I'm one of those. When I bought my first house at 25 in 1995, and I was actually still in the service at the time, but didn't really understand about they were saying a lot back then, $500 down to get you, your house. And at that time, you're saying $500 down, and you're hearing everybody else talk about, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, but then they're telling me I get a house of $500 down. I didn't believe it. So a lot of time we don't believe it because we think it's a myth, right? But it's real. It's reality. It's reality. So I actually bought my first brand new house, right, for $500 down. So moving fast forward to today, you can get a property. Most veterans can get a property for $500 down. And you just heard it from James Green, who just did a deal, kind of a wizard type deal though, right? So that was powerful.
no, man, we do. These. If the thing about it is, if they trust the process, if more veterans would trust the process, we would have more veterans with multifamily homes. We would have veterans, to be transparent, veterans only come two ways. Either they have a lot of money or they have no money. That's the only two ways. There's no in the middle. So I try to make sure no matter what veteran we come across, we put you in an income producing situation.
Wow.
You still can use your entitlement again, right?
Yes.
You it's not a one-time thing. But if you're going to say you're a first-time home buyer and you want to use your VA benefits, get into the house that can generate you money. Don't look at it as you buying a house. Look at it as you buying something to replace income. So you get into those and getting multiple doors off your VA benefits. And guess what? All you have to do to clear your entitlement is refinance out of those multiple doors, clear your entitlement, and you can use your VA benefit all over again. But guess what? You're making anywhere from $1,500 to $1,600 a month net, and all you have to do is collect the rent on a long-term tenant if you're looking at a duplex. So a lot of times is making sure that you can leverage the deal. These deals happen more times than not. These are not like some magic trick that I pulled out the bag. That was the first veteran who said, James, I'm going to trust the process all the way through. This right here is not going to be your forever home. It's not. But this can be a forever payment.
Wow. Now that's great information, James. But it sounds like too you have a lender though too that's passionate about helping veterans. A lender that's passionate about helping veterans to become homeowners and property landowners as well, landlords as well. So that's good, man. Investment. So now you have wealth through real estate, right? You're becoming wealth. You're developing wealth, creating wealth through real estate, and that's powerful. So thank you, James. Thank you so much for that. Any questions? No questions in the comments? Okay, trust the process. All right, so what's the VA funding fee and who's exempt from it, and can it be rolled into the loan?
So the VA funding fee is actually a fee that actually keeps the VA zero payment program going. People who are exempt are people with Purple Hearts, people with disability. Those are normally the people who are exempt from that. But it's usually a 3.3% that is rolled into the loan on top of the loan amount. So, prime example, if your house purchase price is $100,000, right? We would do $100,000 loan plus 3.3%, which would be $100,000, $3,300. So it's always rolled in top of the loan. It's always a factor into your debt to income ratio. But if you have disability or Purple Heart, those are the people who are excluded from that fee.
Wonderful. Okay, so James said it's what keeps the process going, the zero down payment going for veterans and active duty service members moving forward, and it's actually how they move forward and keep that zero. We got a question in the comment section here. I keep saying veteran, can active duty and or reservists take advantage of this as well? So
yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I encourage this is the thing. When you're active duty, and let's say you're 2 years in, you kind of then got your feet there and right, you can go ahead and start using that VA benefit, right? The first year, second year, you're trying to still figure out if you like it, right? That's typical. But you're getting close to that decision you got to make, right? You got to make a decision. Am I going to re-enlist? I'm going to redo my contract. So year 2 is a really sweet spot. But think about it this way, right? Let's say you're gonna do the 22, right? You committed to the 22. Think about it this way: how many quadruplexes, how many duplexes can you possibly buy in that 22 years or that 20 years in the military by using your VA, refinancing the property out, getting another one? So think about this. Let's look at a clear picture, because the elephant in the room anywhere in America is retirement. Think about it. You do the full 22, you get disability, you get your pay forever, right? So you get a nice chunk of change depending on where you finish out at, E8, E9, wherever you're at, right? But on top of that, could you imagine having a real estate portfolio with solely using your VA benefits through that same amount of time, when you can have another $10,000 to $20,000 of income coming in on top of what you're already going to be retiring with? So a lot of times people do not understand. Think about it this way: anywhere in America, you qualify for a house as a veteran. Because guess what? Your job is always remote. So if you wanted to buy a quadruplex here or a quadruplex there, your job is always remote.
Yeah.
So don't just think about it in a box. You, like the VA, if you listen and follow the process, your VA loan can make you millions of dollars while still actively in the service.
Yeah, James, you keep talking about the duplexes, and that's you talk about people creating wealth. I love it, and you're one of those lenders that really want to help veterans. It sounds like to me, help them to grow and to build not just generational wealth, but just wealth, period. And I love that. I love that. Wonderful. Well, you guys are hearing it. So this might be something you need to go back on and to rewind or to rewatch it, because this is great information. That was another clarity moment as well. Thank you, James. Another question is, what protection does the VA loan give buyers that conventional and FHA loans don't?
So they give buyers several things, right? They're going to be very, very, how would I say, on your side with your appraisal. They want to make sure that the house appraises. There's nothing wrong with the house. They're going to make sure that house is ready for you to be in.
Right.
That is they're going to make sure the asset is the asset, right? And that's the most strategic way I can put the appraisal, right? They're going to protect you. Let's just say that. They will go to bat for you. Now, on top of that, again, mortgage insurance, you don't have, right? It is fully backed by the VA. That means that you don't have to pay an extra $100 or $200 there just for mortgage insurance. Typically, VA loans have a lower interest rate than other loans. And the caveat to that is a lender can only charge you up to 1% of a total cost of origination. So they make sure they limit what a lender can charge you. They make sure you get the best rates out of all of them. And they make sure you get mortgage insurance. And overall, they make sure they protect your asset by a very rigorous appraisal process.
Yeah, and you said something about the appraisal. You talked about the appraisal. You started off with that and kind of laughed about it. And it's funny because a lot of people, that's a myth, really, because a lot of people feel that the appraisals take a longer time, and they think it's a bad thing, so to speak, right? But they're just really they have a minimum property requirement, and it protects the veteran. And so while people are talking negative, or people have talked negative about the VA appraisals, it's really to protect the veteran. And so you spoke about that 20% down, or that for the conventional loan, or in the PMI, or the PMI. So we don't have that private mortgage insurance with veterans loans. So that's beautiful. And so I really appreciate that. That's some good information, right? That's good information. So this benefit is a great benefit, and that's what makes it a powerful benefit. It was built for those who serve. It was built for those who serve. And so, if you serve, or active duty, then this benefit is for you. This benefit's for you. So that's great information, people. All right. No question in the comments. If you're a veteran, if a veteran is trying to figure out what they can afford, right? You're trying to sit down and try to figure out what you can afford. What should they be looking at beyond just a monthly payment? And what does a smart affordability conversation actually include?
Smartest thing to do is call James. Let me do your whole profile and tell you, make it easy for you, because I mean, that's just the true answer. Like, because this is the thing, as a lender, I've come across hundreds of files in my time doing this. And if you go and look at your own stuff, right, what's going to happen is the doubt is going to set in, right? Because you don't do this on a daily. Nobody does lending on a daily but a lender, right? So you'll end up worrying yourself out of a pre-approval, right? So it's an easy conversation of, hey, James, let's pull the credit, let's put all the asset stocks together, and let's see where I'm at. Then we can set the foundation, right? I always tell people, if that tooth in the back of your mouth is hurting, you just gonna let it be there, or you're gonna go to the dentist and try to figure it out. It's the same thing with your financial profile. If you have questions about your financial profile, go to the person who's licensed and seen way more files than you have, and be like, this is what you need to do. Because the first thing people do is say, oh, I need to have a perfect credit score. Guess what they start doing? Spending closing cost money on credit cards that typically we don't, so that's that you're trying to self-medicate your profile, and it could be doing more harm than benefits.
Wow, I love it. I love it. In other words, he said, call James. So don't assume, in other words, don't assume you know what the lender's going to say, right? And what I've heard lenders tell me is, what you want to do is let me tell the buyer what they need to work on, and not they just, like he said, self-medicate. So we don't want to do that. So we don't want to self-medicate. Let James tell you what you need to work on. I have a couple clients that I was working with, and they got with James, and James told them, okay, work on this, before we can move forward. But again, work on these things. And so that's great information. Thank you, James. All right. So what should the veteran expect at the closing table, and what costs can the seller cover on the VA loan?
Okay, so again, per the guidelines with veterans, You can only originate for so much. All the fees have to be, so it really mitigates a lot of the bank fees that other loans have. But your typical closing costs are going to be your attorney fees, your bank fees, your processing fees, your prepaid taxes, your escrows, right? Your prepaid home insurance, your escrows, your transfer taxes, and your tax stamps, right? All those fees are accumulating into the closing costs. A lot of people don't notice, but when you get to that phase, the only thing that the lender controls is that section that says origination costs. All those other fees are imported into us. We don't know what your taxes numbers are going to be. We don't know what your true attorney fees are going to be. We don't know what your transfer. All of these are estimates that we put in there, and we try to estimate on the best of our behalf for you. I typically almost always estimate higher than what I think, because I kind of want people to have a pleasant surprise of a lower number at closing, right? So if we do it right and I estimate high and we say we need this 4%, because in this today's market, it's a super buyer's market. It is you can really ask for the moon on a lot of these deals and ask for that 4%. If they say no and give you 3, okay, that's 3% more than you didn't have, right? So a lot of times we try to make sure we factor in the closing costs, which it varies from county to county. Taxes are different. Fulton County taxes are different than DeKalb, and DeKalb is different from Gwinnett, and Gwinnett is different from Henry, right? So it just depends on where you're at, where the tax is at. Housing for you, because think about it this way: whatever your insurance is, you have to pay that 12 months at closing. So the age of your house, the roof of your house, where your house is located, all of those things matter with closing costs, because now your insurance dictates that final payment. So we're saying, hey, you need to pay 12 months of insurance, and you live in a high accident area in Atlanta in a great house, that insurance might be a little bit higher. So you have to pay for that. So when it comes to closing costs, it is really down to the address. So we try to compensate for that by estimating high across the board, but also always asking for that max 4% for to help you guys save as much money in your pocket as possible.
Wow, that's good information. That's huge, because a lot of veterans walk in thinking they need tens of thousands of dollars, but then, like you just said, it's right now it's like a super buyer's market. So with us negotiating for the buyer, then hey, you may not need as much as you think you need. So again, let's start the process. Let's have that conversation, because having that conversation will ultimately lead you at some point into your home. So, thanks, James. All right. So what's the biggest myth about VA loans that you wish more veterans understood, James?
As I'm just gonna keep hammering away at it. Take advantage of up to 4 units. Take advantage up to 4 units, because a lot of veterans, they might have a W-2 job, they might be working, part-time here and there. You might not have that job where the income is going to pan out all the way, right? So to protect yourself from that, let's get your first house to be a multifamily, so we can use that future rent to help you qualify for the house. Everybody needs a place to stay. It helps you with, helping another veteran who might need a place to stay. And then you talking to them and saying, hey, come rent here. And then now you're having a conversation about how you got into your home. So, things that you can do on that other side of duplexes, rent the rooms out to VA programs, vets who need a room to stay in. So if you think about this from I need to build a so-called retirement fund for the future, let your first house be something that can start stacking your wins. Let your first house stack your wins. And so that's the biggest myth. Like, just because you're saying, oh, I see this duplex for 400,000. man, I don't think I'll qualify for it. Well, if we say the rent over there is 1,800 and you bring the part that's responsible for your half, we can possibly get this deal done for you. So you're able to qualify for more house. You're able to rent out the room. You're able to rent it out long term. You're able to Airbnb it. You're able to do a lot of flexible things. And the cool thing about it is the VA only requires you to stay in this home for 12 months. After that, you can rent out both sides or all four sides or all three sides and move on. And so now you have an opportunity to have something cash flowing and setting yourself up to do something along the lines on your next purchase.
Wow. So we need to have a conversation, basically, right?
Yes.
We need to have a conversation because the more you know, the better off, the better position you find yourself in. And it's not a one size fit all either, people. So just because you heard somebody else said I did it this way, don't mean you can do it that way. So the best thing to do is have that conversation with a realtor and a lender to figure out what your situation is. Okay, your situation is going to be different from somebody else's situation, so it's not a one size fit all. So let the lender look at your situation, your portfolio, and determine where you need to be and go from there. And you hear this lender here that's constantly talking about, creating wealth for you. And so we want to talk with people like James that care about you moving forward in a positive direction. So that's what I love. I love that, James. I just keep hearing that ringing in my ears where you're talking about the best interest of the client, the best interest of the buyer, trying to help them to grow, So wonderful. All right. So one more question I have for you, James, if there be no more here, is what's the number one piece? It's probably go back to duplexes, but what's the number one piece of advice you give a veteran or service member before they start the home buying process?
This is the one where I'm going to circle back to the beginning of the conversation about credit score, right?
Right.
So the biggest advice is collections, charge-offs, bankruptcies. Know the difference between a Chapter 7 and a 13. 13, you can still buy a house while you're active, right? While it's active, okay? 7, you have to wait 2 years and to be able to buy a home, okay? So that means if and one of the biggest things about VA, if you file bankruptcy, everything after those bankruptcy files need to be on time because they will scrutinize you if you have a late payment after bankruptcy. They don't care about the bankruptcy because that's a reset. They want to know that you changed your habits after the bankruptcy. Okay.
Wow.
So that's how they look at your credit report. Just like when you were in the military, active duty, they're stickler for organization, order, and commands. That's the same way they're going to look at your credit report. They want to make sure that you can follow the command of making your payment on time and be obligated to not be late. So that's why they make sure that they are looking at charge-offs, collections, and bankruptcy. So if you are in that boat, before we talk about duplexes, money to save, any of those things, we need to make sure, I don't care if your credit score is right at 600. If you don't have any of those things on there, the chances of you being able to work to get into a home, it skyrockets on VA. Again, they don't have a debt to income ratio problem. They have a willingness and obligation to pay problem. So as long as you can overcome that, you'll be fine, and we can figure it out for you.
Wow, that's powerful to close on. That's a powerful word to close on. James, the preacher for the night, the mortgage preacher, right? And so that's powerful in itself. Information is powerful. And so we really appreciate that piece of information. So you have to understand your situation. Remember, where did it start? It starts with a conversation and knowing your situation, knowing where you are, knowing your credit, knowing your income, knowing your goals and your timeline. It starts with a conversation. And so James kind of hit on all those things tonight. We appreciate the support, James. We also have free resource for you guys in the comments. Download my free ebook. It has invaluable information about the home buying process for veterans and active duty service members. A lot of things that James covered tonight, you'll find those in the ebook. It's free. There's no charge. It's free of charge. It's a ebook that we created just for veterans and active duty service members to be able to buy you a home. The goal tonight, is to be able to get into a home. Know your situation and get into a home, but it first starts with the conversation. Okay, it first starts with conversation. I've been there as far as I've used my VA several times. So I've been there. I understand the process. It works. But I was a young 25-year-old person that didn't believe it. It was too good to be true, so to speak, right? And so I didn't want to buy it. But then it took my landlord getting on my nerves. And when he got on my nerves, I decided, you know what, I'll buy me a house. And that's what caused me to go buy me a house. And so I went and bought me a house, and here I, understood the process, and I paid those $500. Back then, the word was $500 is all you need down to get you a house, and I'm like, wow, that's it. But it was too good to be true. But zero down is not too good to be true. It's reality, because this benefit was made for those who served. If you have served or are serving, this is for you. Okay, so take this opportunity. And then you heard James put some powerful nuggets in here today about duplexes and quadruplexes, about building generational, whether it's generational wealth or just building wealth. And he's giving you nuggets. Those free nuggets that he's given tonight about how you can build your portfolio and you can just really grow in real estate. So powerful. Thank you so much, James. I'm Realtor Rick tonight, guys. Thank James Green for being with us. I thank you guys for being with us. I'm Realtor Rick. And listen, if you're ready to start this process, give me a call. 943-457-2003. You can message me. You can call me. You can reach out to me. My email is rick.deshields@legacysouth.reg.com. So call, text, email. I'm here to serve you as you've served our country. So again, you have anything to follow up with, James? You're done with that? If not, we appreciate your time and thank everybody for being here with us tonight.
Yeah, so I am definitely just want to say, guys, really, really make the call. Let's see what we can do to make the VA loan be the most beneficial to you and future generations, and making sure that you understand that you don't have to have a lot of money to build wealth. You can actually build it through your VA benefits.
Yes. All right. That's great. You don't have to have a lot of money. I think it's starting the process. It's starting the process. And that's where a lot of people are stuck at. And actually, fear is one of those things that keep people from starting the process. Thinking, like you said earlier, they don't have they're already grading themselves with credit without talking to a lender. How do you know what the lender is going to say? So you're trying to judge yourself and gauge where you are without giving the lender the opportunity to tell you where you are. So it's one of those things where just take those steps, take those first steps. Be like that baby that's holding on to the wall or holding on to mommy's leg or holding on to the couch, and they finally say, you know what, I'm walking, right? So let's be that person that's just going to take those first steps and just move forward. And again, 943-457-2003. And guess what? We'll have that conversation and figure out your situation. And guess who you're going to hear from next? We're going to connect you to James Green. And then now you're talking about duplexes and quadruplexes. So we're going to get our home. Our goal is to help you become a homeowner and begin the process of creating generational or just wealth.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
So, again, James, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate that. We appreciate those that came on with us tonight. This is some great information. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.